Right, well, we're here, and I forgot to do my big opening. Should we try it again? Let me see. Here, can I? Right now, it's probably. There you go. That's how you do it. All right, I already made a mistake, so lay off. I have a real problem going on here tonight. Welcome to Pugs Moran Live, the 10 p.m. Pillow Talk edition of what we do here. We do this twice a day. We do it at noon. Noon, we call it the High Noon edition, and we talk about all the topics and everything that's trending. And I got to tell you, nothing really great trends until like after I stop doing this at 2 o'clock. That's when everything pops. That's when the crazy stuff starts to happen. Maybe the topic show, the idea was to do it at a time when people were at work and maybe they could use this information for the rest of the day. But all of the information, it seems, that is trending at the noon hour, between noon and 2, it is just usurped by just a cavalcade of craziness that happens every day around 3 o'clock. But that's okay, because we do this twice a day and we're here for Pillow Talk. So this is when we get to talk about the Joe Rogan stuff. This is when we get to talk about NASCAR fans out there. You guys following the whole about what's going on with Denny Hamlin? Yeah. We'll talk about that. That's pretty crazy. But I have another problem going on right now. I have this dog. It's not my dog. It's somebody else's dog, and maybe you ought to go find that person. All right, there she goes. What? That's your lead. She is now dragging her. Oh my God. Okay, so there's this dog. As many of you know, here we are in the guest home of the palatial Highland Park 1% compound. I do this show here. I live in the next room, and the property has a dog. And it's a wonderful dog. And all dogs in their own way are wonderful. This dog's name is CeeLo. CeeLo is she was being given away. Somebody was just like, we don't want this thing anymore. I can kind of see why. But she was being given away a couple of weeks ago. And the master of the house, he wanted a dog. His lovely, beautiful dog, Frankie, just had passed away a week prior. Frankie was a big, gorgeous Great Dane. And I saw this dog on, like, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace or something. And the dog looked exactly like Frankie, who just left. But it wasn't a Great Dane. Although we thought maybe it was like a mixed Great Dane. But it's not. Turns out, CeeLo is a Catahoula. A blue Merle Louisiana Catahoula leopard dog. I never heard of this breed. But boy, oh boy, do I love this dog. This dog is awesome. I am a dog uncle, which is cool because I'm not responsible for anything. She just comes over here and hangs out with me. But she's been coming over here every night. Every night, just around 9:30, I'll venture over to the big house and just say, so is everybody excited about my show? There's nobody paying any attention to any of this. This is just me being weird out here in the guest house. But I'll pop my head in over there, see what the boys are doing. And inevitably, the dog will follow me back out the door, across the vast expanse of this beautiful property, and will follow me up the steps into my little guest house area here. But put that down. Hey, put that down. She's now got get in there. You don't do that. Lay down. Come here. I'm going to let people see you. We'll come up. All right, here. See if you guys can see her. There you go. You see her? Look at her. Get out of here. Get out of here, weirdo. She just grabbed my shoe. She grabbed my shoe. She went in the other room. She's looking for attention. She went in the other room and she grabbed my shoe. Now get out of here. Go lay down. Oh my God. My God, she's going to chew up my shoe. This is what happens when you leave your shoe on the floor. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now she's under the table. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out. Get out. No. Folks, I do apologize. I am having a issue with a dog who thinks it's playtime, and it's not. Please go lay down. Please go lay down and leave me alone, and don't eat my shoes, and don't poop on the floor. Yeah, lay down. Folks, this is completely unprofessional. Oh, good girl. That's a good girl. Oh my God, I need a drink. Okay, so now she's laying down in her spot by the door. Maybe she's not going to bark like she did yesterday. Yesterday she started barking. Oh my God. But she will if my shoe. Hey, those are good shoes. Now she's moved on to good shoes. See, I'm allowed to leave my shoes on the floor because I don't have a dog. I'm a dog uncle. At some point, my hope is that she'll get tired. Here, I'm just going to have my little cocktail here tonight. This is how we like to start. Just a little bit. Just a little sipping. Just a little sipping whiskey. Oh, geez. Guess who's back? Guess who was laying down and now she's back. Lay down. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't know how to do it. She kind of can sit like she's a baby. She's still young. And she can kind of sit if there's food involved, but any other thing, she ain't doing it. She wants nothing to do with it. Oh, now she's sniffing around. You know what comes next? Ugh. See, she lives in the... Oh, good girl. Okay, now she's just going to lay down there. All right, so now we can get on with it. How are you, everybody? Welcome to the Pillow Talk edition of Pugs Moran Live. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. As I was saying, things started to break over the last few hours. Really interesting craziness here. Let me tell you what we're going to be talking about today. Let me just give you a little rundown, just so you know that I actually do prepare for these things. I am really running out of my whiskey, though. I'm going to have to get another bottle of Jameson. Although, I don't know. I might have to buy... Do they have generic whiskey? Because honestly, I mean, if I'm just sipping, I mean, what the hell? Tonight, we're going to talk about the Joe Rogan situation. We're going to talk about the Denny Hamlin situation. If you don't know about the Denny Hamlin situation, I say maybe get on Twitter and go find his wife, because his wife has something to say. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about something I asked on Facebook, which I thought was interesting. What was your first news event, the big news event that you remember as a child that really stuck out, that you went, oh, well, that's not just me playing with blocks. This is something bigger. This is a big... So I want to go over that. And there was a bit of a curiosity on my part as to the age range of people who are on my Facebook page. And this was a good way, I thought, to kind of figure that out. What are most people? Like if most people are saying 9/11, I'm like, oh, okay, so we've got a younger crowd. If most people are saying the JFK assassination, oh, well, now we've got an older crowd. But it's really spread out, and I like that. I think that's a good thing. I think that there's a wide range of different things that you guys suggested. So we'll talk about them all. Also, we're going to discuss... I mean, look, I haven't wanted to get into this stuff, but we're going to talk about America's endless war. And of course, I'm talking about Richard Marx versus Chachi. They're at it again on Twitter, and we're gonna delve into that one. Richard Marx, hold on to the night. What else does he do? What else does Richard Marx do? Don't mean nothing. No, don't mean nothing to sign it on a dotted line. Don't mean no. What is the dog doing? All right, she's good. Are you chewing on my shoe? She's laying next to my shoe. It's like she knows that I'm worried about it, and she's just going to stay close. And anytime she wants to distract me, she's going to go closer to the shoe. It's not a shoe. It's a flip-flop. And quite frankly, it's the most important shoe I have, because most of my travel these days consists between me walking between the guest house and the big house. And I don't bend over and lace shoes for that. I slide on slip-ons. And she has my slip-on right next to her now. Like she's just going to chew it up. All right, so we're going to get into that. Also, we've got a new American Vidiot. I decided that every day I'm going to try and give you at least one American Vidiot, and I had like 4 of them today. I pared it down. Excuse me, I pared it down to 1. This is a good one. What this should be, if they ever make a movie about my American Vidiot thing, this will be on the poster. This is the poster child for the American video. This is what I'm looking for in these things. Not somebody ranting about masks, not somebody, I mean, that's going to be inevitable. These people are idiots and they're caught on video, so I guess they fit the description. But what I've got to share with you tonight, if you stick with us, is the quintessential American video. Also, we're going to talk to James Parker. He's down there in New Orleans. We like to start the show off with him, so we're gonna talk to him. Oh wait, I just got a couple of messages here. Let me see who that is. I don't know what that means. Oh, okay, Ed. Ed is like a tech genius. And when I said I was just trying to gauge the ages of people, he texted me like the most accurate technical breakdown of the demographics of the people that we have listening, which I appreciate. But that ain't fun. That ain't a fun way to do it. I mean, look. For his purposes, because he's a businessman and he owns a platform and he has to, make the things fly. I guess that's important. But for me, for this, it was fun. But I do appreciate that, and I'm going to look at that later because actually, it's probably something that I should know. So James Parker down there in New Orleans, he's day 3 now of no power, staying at his hot mother-in-law's house, and he's bored. And it's not necessarily going to be a big hurricane update or anything like that. Although we'll check in, we'll see how things are progressing down there. But he's got the old. Remember on Letterman when Leno would come on, what's my beef? He's kind of got a what's my beef kind of thing he wants to do. So we'll get into that. He's got something on his mind. Yesterday was about Daniel Craig. So today we'll find out what it is that he wants to talk about. Let's say hi to the people that are hanging out with us today. I thank you all so much. Brady, Steve, Ross, Christian, Gary. I can't. How many more do I got here? Do you hear how I'm breathing? Those are allergies. That's allergies. This is not COVID. I have no fever. I'm actually feeling better. But I cannot guarantee how long I'm going to be able to go today because I did the full 2 hours today of nonstop talking, and it was painful. I got to check in on my White Sox. See, typically I'm off the air by the time or game ends before I check in here. So let me see. Chicago White Sox. They were up, but they were in trouble. Okay, 6-3 final.
Sox won 6-3 today against the Pirates.
6-3. All right, that's good. See, I was busy prepping, but they were in trouble. No need to check. Well, dare I? All right, let's see. Let's see what my other team did. Let's see here. Texas Rangers.
The Rangers lost 9-5 today against the Rockies.
Jeez. All right. Well, hey, at least one of my teams is doing well. I'll have a postseason. Hi, Tom. Tom is here. Kenny is here. Clovis is here. All right. We're filling up. We're having fun. Can you tell I'm just trying to... I feel like absolute trash. I feel like garbage. I'm trying to fake it, and we're going to be fine. I was so dead after today's show, after the noon show, at like 2:00. I was just, oh my God. It is, I've never experienced anything like this. Like the first week was fine, because I was healthy. I wasn't being, beaten down by my allergies. But boy, this week with the allergies, I'm already feeling a little beat down. And then when I just blah, 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 blah with you good folks for 2 hours straight, it's really hard. I never thought I'd love commercials. Or play a song or something. I mean, what if I have to go to the bathroom? Thankfully, I haven't had to go to a bathroom during any of these. But okay, that's enough silliness. Let's check in on our boy. Let's see if James Parker is doing all right down there in NOLA, New Orleans. Here we go. All right, it's ringing. Okay, somebody said that they could hear the tones. You can't hear the tones. It's just a number that I hit. Maybe one of his kids is throwing a tantrum. Oh, are you kidding me?
Hey, this is James Parker. Sorry, Mr. Cole. I would tell you to leave your name, your number, but you know what to do. I mean, my phone's telling me what your number is, so you don't really need to leave that. But so just do whatever you got to do.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Well, as a broadcaster yourself, I'm sure you realize how unprofessional it is to miss an appointment. I guess you're just gonna have to call. I guess I'm just gonna have to hang up on you, get rolling into something else, and then right when I'm hitting my stride, you're gonna call and interrupt it. So let's see if that happens. Okay then. All right. Hey, so what should we start with today? Should we talk about the Joe Rogan thing? Right? I mean, why not? Huh? Let me see if I can find this for you. Which one? Which one has the? Is this it? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. This was the announcement that was made earlier. Do you like Joe Rogan? I'm a UFC fan. I will say that Joe Rogan, in my estimation, is the best MMA play-by-play guy in the business. Maybe it's he's the original. Do you see? We'll get into it. All right. Hiya, Parker.
Hey, how you doing, Pugs?
I am doing fantastic. More importantly, how are you doing down there in New Orleans, Louisiana? Hurricane survivor James Parker joins us.
Yeah, we're just waiting on the power to come back on. That's all.
What are they telling you about the power situation?
Well, there are some spots that are popping up today, and it's still bad though. It's like 90% of the whole metropolitan areas without power.
Yeah, hold on. You know what? Because here we have you here talking to us every night about what's going on down there in New Orleans. And then I just pull up, I don't know, a random news site like Drudge. 72 hours later, Ida's devastation shocks as fuel shortages hinder recovery. Next line. No relief in sight. Next line. Desperation grows. 1 million still without power. Next line. Governor tells evacuees not to come home. Next line. Cow rescued from tree. So how is it down there?
Well, it's good for the cow, I suppose.
Look, hey, I'm telling you, with all of that devastation, people getting eaten by alligators in their front yard, a cow in a tree, that's a respite from the horrors, isn't it?
It's very bizarre how you can just go in and out of worlds, because if you go to like in my neighborhood, there's just a little dinky independent grocery store called Lakeview Grocery, and apparently they have enough batteries that they have, if you go to the grocery store from 8 to 5, it's on with all the lights on, with all the refrigerators on, with all the air conditioning on, all the employees are there. The credit card machines work, so you don't have to pay with cash. So it feels just like it does any other time of
But
the
is
year,
there
hurricane or not.
Are the shelves bare? I mean, look, I'm looking at Drudge. You know, it's basically a description of Cambodia in the early 70s. What are the grocery stores like? Is there food?
Man, there is food. There's quite a bit of food. The people hit a few things hard. They hit the bread and milk hard.
Toilet paper.
Yeah, the toilet paper, paper towels, and the bleach. The toilet paper is a new thing. It didn't used to be like that.
No, that's like when did that start? Suddenly everybody's worried
about. It was
about
the COVID thing. It was like the first thing we had to run on in COVID, and I was like, "Is this like? Does it give you the trots?" And they're like, "Nope, we're just buying toilet paper.
Just stock up." Yeah, okay. Everything is Y2K now. Are you old enough to remember Y2K?
Oh man, I loved Y2K. My roommate at the time was a Y2K technician that had to go in through lines of code and change the date, just like in Office Space.
Was he an alarmist? Like, what, did he believe it was all going to hell?
No, not at all. No, none of us did. I was a computer science major too, and I knew it wasn't going to hell. It was fine.
Okay. All right. So so go back to your story. So there are two worlds that you're experiencing down there.
Yeah. So if you go to what some people refer to as a bodega, just like the little corner store that's the first one when you're getting out of your residential neighborhood, you know.
Yeah, you mean a 7-Eleven?
Yeah, it's not a 7-Eleven. We don't do chains in New Orleans very well, but this one's called just like the Lakeview Mini Mart. I think
it's where you would get your off-brand energy drinks and your wrap snacks.
Man, I think they do have wrap snacks.
Of course they do.
So you go in this one. He doesn't have a generator, so he's got the front door and the back door open. So there's a little bit of a breeze going through there. Whatever you grab off the shelf, like I grabbed 2 Pringles and 3 Powerades, and he just looked at him. He said $10. Like there's nothing to scan. You can't type it into your computer anyway. So it's like the owners, they're just eyeballing the merchandise and just rounding it up.
All right, I have one question about that.
Yeah,
Powerade. You're a Powerade guy?
I'm okay with Powerade Zero
Yeah.
because there's no sugar in it. But that was more for my kids this time around.
Yeah,
That's
my kid, like, I'm a Gatorade guy through and through. That's the look. First time I had Gatorade, I thought it was disgusting, but that was all there is, and you sort of get your taste buds used to it, and that's what I like. I like Gatorade. My kid, 12 years old, he likes all of these weird off-brand things, and every time I taste them, oh, they are disgusting. They're just it's getting energy, not energy drinks, but what would that be? A thirst quencher?
sports drink.
A sport. There you go, a sports drink. These sports drinks are just devolving into worse and worse flavors. But go ahead, continue. So you get your stuff. Yeah, it's $10. That's all. No
Yeah, and,
taxes.
and there's no lights in the place. There's no air conditioning in the place, and he just eyeballs it. And it's cash only. There's no one swiping your card because there's no electricity to swipe it.
Did
So,
$10 seem right for those two purchases?
it was a little high, but what are you gonna do? Call the manager. It's a
Hey,
convenience thing.
Ross Rubio in the chat room, he just reminded me of something. He said Gatorade in glass bottles was the best. Oh man, that makes me feel old. Do you remember Gatorade in glass bottles?
Yeah, and look, when you go through the annals of sports drink history, the one that really failed the most was 10K, and it was trying to be forced on us for about 5, maybe even 10 years. You remember 10K?
I do not. Tell me about 10K.
Jesus, I think like it was an upstart sports drink, and someone bought it, like Pepsi or Coke or someone. One of the bigwigs bought it. It might have been like an RC or Dr Pepper thing, but it had just like a hint of carbonation in it. So it was like carbonated Gatorade, and it sucked. But when I was in high school and then I played soccer in college, they were always giving out freebies, and we would get freebies from 10K, and we're like, we don't want to drink this. This is god awful.
Yeah, I think 10K may have been a regional thing because I've never heard of 10K up in.
Yeah, I really felt like we were an experimental market, and they didn't want to let it go. Like this project was somebody's baby, but someone bigger owned it. It had been an upstart, and then one of the bigwigs bought it and thought it was going to be the next thing, and it just flopped.
It's just a little something old Doc Hopkins ripped up in his garage out there in Tyler and put on
like
the kids.
The Crystal Pepsi of sports drinks.
There was nothing wrong with Crystal Pepsi. I was an advocate for Crystal Pepsi. I thought it was
cool.
But
it messed with your head to
see
yourself drinking something clear, but it tasted like Pepsi. That's
really,
it. It's a mental thing. I'm with you. It tasted fine.
It tasted exactly like Pepsi.
It just messed with your head.
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did. It seemed weird, like it should taste like something else, but it tasted like a brown soda, a brown cola. Okay, so you don't know when you're going to be able to go back to your home. Is your hot mother-in-law traipsing around now in like negligees and stuff like that? I've got a very graduate Anne Bancroft kind of vibe out of her. Is what I'm imagining.
No, it's fine. It's exactly what you think. She's wearing like a t-shirt and no bra. But that's what you wear when you wake up in the middle of the night and the carbon monoxide alarm's going off.
Ooh, what happened? Did something happen with the generator?
Yeah, when you get a generator, they make you get carbon monoxide alarm, and it's gone off the last couple nights.
Well, that's not good.
Until like 6 a.m.
But that's not good.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's a problem.
So you turn off the generator and you open the doors and you air out the house and you basically let out all the air conditioning. So it's going off again today, and so now we're back at my house. I'm at my house with no air conditioning. Period. At least we don't have to worry about carbon monoxide. And so if the alarm doesn't go off again tonight, we might go back and stay the night tomorrow night. But we're just sweating it out tonight.
You're going to let the in-laws deal with the potential battery dying in the carbon monoxide detector, not you and the kids.
Yeah, like if I could get a canary, I would do that, and I would stick it in the living room. But in absence of a canary, I would just use my actual in-laws.
Well, I understand there are alligators floating around everywhere. Just throw one of them in a tank in the living room and see what happens. Right. Why not? You are in Louisiana. So you are back at the house. There's no air conditioning. Oh, that's got to be miserable, man. I mean, are there no hotels? Like, is that an option?
I don't know.
And would they have air conditioning, I guess, would be my second question.
Oh, and those are the two questions you got to ask. And first thing you got to assume is they're all booked up. Like a hotel in New Orleans, what's the point? They don't have any power. And so how far do you have to go till they have power? There's it's like 50-50 in Baton Rouge right now. But they just got the storm as bad as we did, pretty much. So where would you go? And aren't they all going to be booked up when you go to Pensacola or Mobile or a Hattiesburg or something like that? They're all going to be booked up.
Yeah. Are those places within driving distance? Pensacola?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. That totally,
Okay.
totally.
All right.
So the real evacuation plan is usually some brother or sister or mom or dad or aunt or uncle or grandma or grandpa or roommate you had in college. It's a personal connection, and evacuees usually stay at somebody's house.
Clovis in the chat room says you're living straight out of a Tennessee Williams novel. I do declare, this heat and humidity is getting to me, young James Parker.
Yeah, I'm about to get a case of the vapors or whatever. There's a lot of hanging out on porches and fanning yourself.
Sure. Good times. Good times. All right.
So
So
we've been told that school is canceled indefinitely.
Indefinitely. Yeah. We talked about that yesterday. No update on that front?
No update on that front.
Okay.
My radio show has been canceled through at least Saturday. So the earliest I could go back to work, even if everything comes on tomorrow, is Monday.
That's all right. You can keep your chops up with me right here. Excuse me. I'm going through some terrible allergies. I'm suffering too, James. Not just you. It's not just you and the good folks of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the surrounding areas. I am suffering from allergies. So please keep a good thought from me.
Yeah, I feel so selfish.
So, I asked you, I said, bring some heat for me. Give me something that's on your mind that you want to talk about. Is there any issue or something you want to open the show with here today? Well, I guess it's the first half hour. Is there anything, what's on your mind? What's your beef,
I
James
kind of want to
Parker?
nail down a tangent that we had in yesterday's conversation where I proposed to you that even if you had a time machine where you could go back to any time in human history, and if you weren't allowed to come back, like where would you go? You would not go before about 2011. And I'm thinking it might be 2017. That's as far back as I'm willing to go.
No, I didn't say 2011. I would go back further.
Said 2011. That's kind of my final cutoff, but I'm really thinking it's more like 2017.
All right, so I have a question for you about this scenario, okay?
Okay.
So are we time travelers from our time going back there with all the knowledge that we have? Or is it just we go back there and we're just like some stupid rube who was born in the 1940s? What are we talking about?
Oh, no, you absolutely go with all the knowledge you have. And that's a crucial part of the bit, because the fact that you've spent the first 50 whatever years of your life with air conditioning means if you go back any time before like 1950, your life is going to suck.
Yeah, because that's the thing, just because I know about air conditioning doesn't mean I could go back to the 1850s and actually build an air conditioner.
Bro, and that's where it starts. That's like the basic human decency condition. Think about how much you know about music and movies and television and arts and entertainment, and you got to go back and you got to watch like a vaudeville skit, and you got to listen to someone's gramophone with ragtime on it. You'll flip over the table and be pissed off.
Yeah. And there is an attraction to the idea of going back to remember in Back to the Future where at the talent contest Marty got up and played Johnny Be Good. It was a song that hadn't been written yet, but he performed it first. You remember that scene?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. So there is some attraction to that idea, like going back to the early days and maybe like just becoming really good friends with the Beatles, like before they were the Beatles, and then just seeing what I could ride off those coattails, like what could I become? Like I think if I was in radio, like if I was a radio guy back in the 90s, like if I decided to do the same thing that I did now, and like say I went back to like 1960 in Liverpool, and I just showed up there and I went to the Cavern Club and just started hanging out with these, little guys and just became their friends. I think, or could I just go back to the early days of television and become like America's most renowned psychic? You
don't want to do that because you still don't have air conditioning, damn it.
No,
in 1970, only 30% of the houses in America had air conditioning in 1970.
Okay,
you don't want to go back before cell phones.
No.
You don't want to go back before internet porn.
I don't need it. I really don't. If I am America's most renowned psychic in 1955, I'm in an apartment in New York City with air conditioning. I promise you that. They had air conditioning back then. Rich people were always comfortable. Always.
Yeah, it was super rare in 1950. I'm not saying it didn't exist, but there was all kinds of other weird things that you would have to experience if you were around in 1950, even if you were like a famous person that was, well-to-do. What happens when you go on your national tour and you go to Atlanta and you have to go into like a separate bathroom? You don't want to live through that, dude. You don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to have to
Yeah, because
experience
I'd
that.
be angry and I'd probably get beat up.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I'm going to go in the bike bathroom. Is that legal? I would be wanting to mess with everything. So really, you don't want to go back before text messages. You don't want to go back before cell phones. You don't want to live in a world with long distance calls where if someone's not within like a 20-mile radius of you, you basically just can't call them.
Oh, you don't know me. You don't know me. I would have no problem going back before cell phones. I would have no problem going back before the internet. I really wouldn't. I would be fine. I would be like, okay, I would like to go back to, if I could be my age now. Do I have to be my age now?
Yeah,
Oh,
you do. You do. You just go back as
man.
yourself.
Okay, so then any kind of like civil unrest is out because I can't run. How
You
about
don't want to do civil unrest. Look, you really only want to go back as far as you need to go back to bet on a couple of big sporting events and make yourself just ridiculously wealthy. And so all you got to do is just remember all the Tom Brady Super Bowls. So you'd go back to 2017, maybe 2011 at the latest. But you don't want to live before your cell phone. You don't want to live before smartphones. You don't want to live before Facebook. You don't want to live before Twitter. You don't want to live before Uber even.
I kind of do. That stuff doesn't, I don't really need that
That's a
stuff.
cavalier thing to say, dude, but no one ever says, yes, please ratchet back my lifestyle. That's what I want. I want to live a more primitive. I
No,
don't know.
but James, right now, I live a thoroughly modern lifestyle as a broke ass white dude. Okay. Now, if first of all, this whole thing about money, why aren't we selling the time machine that we built this year? Huh? Why aren't we making our money that way? If we legitimately have an ability to go back in time, that's got to be worth something. But
no, the sports betting is worth far more than you would get for the time machine, you would think.
oh,
Or,
really? Okay, James. Okay, you go back right. Okay, so I'm guessing what you would prep beforehand. You would be prepared. You would know exactly, because I couldn't tell you who won the World Series in 1978. I'd be like,
I know.
I don't
That's
know.
why you would only go back to like 2011. You would be like, okay, basically every Tom Brady Super Bowl
Okay,
except for the Giants and that Nick Foles mess up.
all right, James.
Right?
Who won the Super Bowl in 2013?
Yeah, who gives a rip?
No,
I mean, like if I saw the game, I could tell you. Like whenever they show up.
Okay, all right. The Super Bowl in 2013. Oh God.
I'm sorry, I'm in the dark. I can't look it up.
Hold on. Okay, good. All right, so I will tell you who was in it. You tell me who won. And would you have been able to pick this out at the beginning of the season? Like, because that's when you got to
I
place
would
your bets
look
to make
if I
money.
missed 1 year, I would just wait till the next Tom Brady one.
Okay, Super Bowl, San Francisco 49ers versus the Baltimore Ravens. That's the 2013 Super Bowl. Who won?
Oh, how fun is that? That's the Baltimore Ravens. But that was the fun one where the lights went out. It was in New Orleans. And so we were making jokes. I was making a joke how I was digging a ditch next to the Superdome during the Super Bowl, and everyone got pissed at me.
Yeah, that's the one known as the Blackout Bowl. You absolutely knew all of the details on that one. Okay, so let me try this one. Let's go the next year. The 2014 Super Bowl. Who won the 2014 Super Bowl between who played in this one? The Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos.
Oh, god damn, that was the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, it was a blowout. That was 43-8.
Oh,
Okay, so I think that maybe if I had seen, but okay, here let me do this one. All right, how about the next year? Let's go with the 2015 Super Bowl.
Carolina Panthers and Denver Broncos.
Are you kidding me?
Is that who it is?
No. Okay, it is the start of the 2014 season because the Super Bowl was played in 2015. No, start of the 2015 season. Super Bowl was played early in 2016. All right, so it's the start of the football season. You've got to place your big monster bet. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? And I ain't telling you who's in the Super Bowl. That's too easy. That's a day of game bet. This is how you make your money, by betting early on in Vegas. So who would you put your money on for the 2015 Super Bowl? Who's going to win it?
Oh man, that's great. That's a good point. I think you got me on that one. I would say it's the Denver Bronco one. It's like the Peyton Manning one, because didn't he lose then come back and win the next year? Or was there a gap year? I don't know, man. I really don't know.
What would your guess be? You could lay it down on one team in 2015. What I mean, just go by the odds of the last 10 Super Bowls. Who would you say won the Super Bowl in 2015?
Oh, well, when you put it like that, it's Patriots, I guess.
Yeah, Patriots 28, Seahawks 24.
Oh
There
yeah.
you
So
go.
when there's the interception on the last drive, the idiots. You have Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line. Let's try a crossing route.
Yeah. Why didn't they just hand it off to Marshawn? I don't know. That's
No, well, you nailed your point. I see what you're saying there.
Right.
So day of bets can still be pretty lucrative. That's why we would want to roll them up over a few years. But
only if it's a crazy upset.
That's you already know. Okay, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying? You would know. You would recognize the two teams. Oh, I don't know. I'm very confused. Okay, you would know. Day of bet, you would know.
If you can prep too much, that changes the premise. But what it really means is, I mean, the thing you're weighing is how attached to these luxuries of modern life in 2021 are you? And the answer is probably more so than most people would like to admit. Everyone says, "Oh, I'd like to go back to like the 50s when men were men or whatever." Or like you even said that you would like to go back to some other distant time before cell phones.
Yes. Dude. No, when I say a distant time, like I'd like to go back to like medieval England where, I could be a wizard and be like the king's best friend although I really don't know enough of that history to impress anyone if I was back there.
Right. And you'd probably die of diarrhea from drinking bad water.
Yeah. They'd be like,
get hit with a damn crossbow or something.
They'd be like, "Sire, the people are getting sick around the countryside." And I'd be like, pretty sure that's going to be bad. Pretty sure this is going to be real bad.
Leeches or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I could tell people stuff like that. Don't use leeches, dummy. And then I wouldn't even know how to explain. Get some moldy bread. There's something good about moldy bread. I don't know, the mold. Use that instead of leeches. They'd stumble on penicillin like 100 years before we did. Trust me, I would accelerate progress.
Start with the moldy bread.
Look. Hey, you're the what did they call them? You're the town barber. You work on curing this disease.
Now, what you're saying is very appealing to me. Yeah. If you can go back to that time period and then at some point come back to this time period, but that I disagree. If it's a time travel that's one way, if you go there and stay there, you do not want to live the rest of your life there. You do not want to live the rest of your life without air conditioning or a Dr. Pepper or a bourbon or a beer that is refrigerated. I mean, think of it. All their beer is lukewarm.
All right. How about this compromise? What do you say? What do you say we shoot back to like 1996 and then be like all about eBay and Amazon and Apple and, just really become like a freak show billionaire. And then as time goes on, you like the Ubers and the Facebook, be an early investor in Facebook. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to go that far back. And then I can enjoy like when they come out with the first giant brick phone, I could be like, yeah, you can do better. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think you want to go back. I don't think you want to go back before smartphones. I don't think you really appreciate how attached you are to the smartphone. Think about how much time you spend on it every day. And I know, that's the cool thing, and that's the cavalier thing to say. I could look just fine without a smartphone. It's like the people that brag about not having a TV. It doesn't make you better.
Well, I appreciate that you think I'm cool and slightly cavalier, but I could live without a cell phone. I don't hang on my cell phone all day.
It would be a step back, though. Of course you could. Of course you could live if I cut both of your legs off, but you don't want to.
I did. I lived for 30 years, 35 years without a cell phone.
Right, we were just cavemen banging rocks together.
No.
Now we can stream video. We can watch Netflix on our phone. We can watch anything we were watching back then on our phone right now. Start it from the beginning, pause it, go take a dump or whatever. You can text message. I don't think you understand how big text messages and emojis and having email on your phone is too. Like cell phones in like 2001 were pretty cool, but they don't do just a fraction of what these guys do.
Okay.
And you do not want to go back before the smartphone. You do not want to go back before you can just take video of your son having like some momentous occasion that you've now locked in for life, because you and I both know, especially as parents, you go back and you watch that stuff.
What do you scoreboard me on parents? You know that I'm a part-time dad. How dare you take me into that dark hole?
No, dude, it also means that you purposefully have these created moments with your kid where y'all are going to Comiskey Park or whatever Chicago people do. There's like I don't know, a deep dish pizza involved or some,
Whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Tavern
like,
style, not deep dish, but go ahead. You tourist. Only tourists
look,
eat deep dish.
I know nothing about your pizza up there, but the thing that you kind of secondarily think about is, man, wouldn't that be cool if there was all this footage of me with my mom and me with my dad and me, like my past was recorded like this.
Yeah, you know what I always get upset with? I get upset with when I see people who are my age and maybe celebrities, and there's like some sort of a bio on them or a doc, and all of these dudes, you see these like black and white or grainy early videos of them from the 1970s or the 1980s. There is nothing of that exists of me at that age. There are just faded still photos in my mom's picture book, but there is no moving video. I don't mean moving like emotionally moving. I mean like any sort of motion video of me. I feel like, how come when I see other who are all these people in the 70s who had video cameras? You know, I didn't even have I never, God, I feel like I got so ripped off of my childhood. Almost every moment of my kid's life and your 4 kids' lives, they're all documented in video. Not me.
Okay. Now rewind the clock about just 80 to 100 years, and there's absolutely no photos of almost anyone that ever existed and through all time. When you talk about you want to go back to the medieval period, well, dude, you'd just be a speck.
I would be a god. I would be a god.
No, you would be. If this was Game of Thrones, you wouldn't be like Khaleesi or Jon Snow. You would be peasant number 10 pushing a plow behind a donkey, just like every other serf in the freaking kingdom.
They'd kill me. They'd kill me because they'd think that I'm like some kind of demon or something. I'd talk crazy and they'd kill me for talking. They'd cut my tongue out of my mouth. That'd suck. Yeah, no, like, you're right. It would be bad for me. It would be really bad.
Yeah, he has a Welsh accent. Yeah, whatever.
No, I would go back and I'd have the South Side of Chicago accent that I have, and they would think that I'm a space alien.
Chicago is. Yeah, sorcerer or something.
They would either think that I'm a demon or a god, and honestly, I don't want to flip that coin. I don't think I'd fare well.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
There's a good chance you would die on the first day if you went back too far in time.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. I would appear in a field suddenly and I'd get a spear through my chest. Yeah, you're right. It would be bad. All right, so here's what I would do. It's got to be this age. Do I get to take anything with me? Like, does anything transport with me? Like, could I have my phone in my pocket? Because if I got my phone, no, okay,
no.
Right.
Well, it's not like there's a cell tower.
No, I know, but for a little bit of time, like just long enough for me to meet the king, the phone might light up, and I think that might really impress him. You know?
Like, no, because the thrust of the exercise is you are adopting that timeline's technology.
So what am I wearing? Am I wearing a Chicago White Sox shirt and a Boston Braves hat and a sweat jacket, or do I suddenly?
We're not gonna give you the wardrobe of the day. You just got to wear whatever you're wearing.
Oh my God! Then they'd kill me instantly because I would look like a space alien.
You would?
I would. They'd be like zippers. They'd kill me. They'd see a zipper and kill me.
Yeah, well, if you go too far back,
magic is
like,
that?
How'd you scrape all the hair off your face?
Yeah, that's true. In my glasses, they wouldn't know what glasses are. Yeah, you're right. That's troubling. Okay, so I've decided I will go back to 1991 and I will mess around with the Seattle music scene. I will make sure that I get to be a part of that. And then whatever money I make from being Kurt Cobain's best friend, or whatever, I'd get a writing credit, like he would be struggling with Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I'd be like, a mosquito, my libido, and he'd be like, that's brilliant, and then I'd get a writing credit, so I'd take a little bit of money from that, and then I'd go Amazon and all of that. Yeah, okay, so what? So how old would I be now? So if I was 40 and 30 more years, I'd be like in my 70s. I would do that. That's it, James. I'm sorry. I know you want me to go back to cell phone text time, but I would go back to 1991 and you can drop me right in Seattle, Washington. There you go. That's it.
Remember in 1991, if you were going on a road trip and like you forgot the directions and so you were just trying to wing it and you missed the turn, but you weren't sure if you missed a turn. So you had to keep going for like another 30, 40 minutes. And now you're sure you missed the turn. And so now you got to get off at a gas station and ask the dude behind the counter where you're at. But if that guy looks like a dick, you have to go buy a map because they're not going to let you look at the map. You got to go spend
Right.
something absurd like $13, which in today's dollars is like $31, right? To get a map. And then you pull out the map and you're like, well, this doesn't really help if I don't know where I am.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
you go outside, you're going to spend a quarter on the payphone, which is like $1 today, but the payphone's like out of service. So now you got to go talk to the shady dude at the counter, or hopefully someone else is just milling about the parking lot that looks absurdly friendly, which you're not guaranteed to find. That's what you're going back to in 1991. You don't want to live like that.
I actually do. I did live like that. I made it through. I don't remember it being particularly traumatic. I think I could probably do it again. And besides, this time around, I'd have a plan. I would remember mosquito my libido. I have a plan to make money. I will be fine. I have a better.
Well, look, even if you're going to seed up Amazon or Apple or whatever in the late 90s, you still have to come up with a lump sum to put down to begin with. So are you really just going to get some royalty credits?
Did you not hear that I have a writing credit on Nevermind, the biggest hit single?
Yeah, you're going to show up in 1991. He's going to be like, I read that when I was like 14.
All right,
so hard written for 4 years.
So I'll get on something. So I'll encourage his wife Courtney to write a song about Malibu, California. I would do something. Fine, I'll move on. I'll find what were they called? Mookie Blaylock. I would go find the garage band Mookie Blaylock, and I would say, Pearl Jam would be a much cooler name for you guys. And then I'd be their best friend, and then I'd write, Jeremy or whatever. I would help it all. There are ways that I could get myself involved. Oh my God, I would be a cultural icon. That
sounds so tenuous, dude. Don't you? That's why you got to go with the sports betting angle.
Nah, I don't know. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, my computer just. I would also do the sports betting angle. I just don't know how effective that would be for me because, as I said, I don't remember anything.
That was a pretty good exercise you put us through. That's a good point.
It is. All right. So you want to go back to when? 2017? Is that what you said? 4 years back?
Max. Yeah, it's about as far back as I can take it. I'm to the point now to where if I'm going to be just piling on luxuries, why stop at 2011? And and I put 2017 primarily because of like Uber and Waiter and like all the food. And that's where that really kicked in. And you know what? I've really enjoyed having Uber. I've really enjoyed never, ever having to get into another taxi ever again in my entire life.
Well,
the bigger the city, the more bizarre the taxi experience was. And I don't have to go through that crap.
Well, you're a country boy from Tyler, and I'm a kid from the south side of Chicago, and I have an appreciation for the exotic taxi ride. I actually miss riding around in those overly, if you remember, for a lot of years, taxis, even in the 1990s and 2000s, taxis still looked like cars from the 50s. They were still like really big, giant, and the back seats were huge, and I'd make conversations with the driver. I don't know. I mean, Uber is fine, but there was nothing wrong with living in a big city. There were taxis. I'm a white guy. They stopped for me. I could get a cab anytime I needed. It wasn't a problem. I really don't see any kind of a... okay, so what do you get? You go back to 2017, and what do we have today that we didn't have in 2017 that you could make a killing on? Grubhub and all that is good. You could probably make a bundle when the pandemic hits. I mean, you would know exactly what people were going to be doing. You'd create Zoom. You could create all of these things. Grubhub. Look at what Grubhub has done. So go ahead.
Well, the problem with that question is you don't really know what technology is springing up right now until about 5 years from now, because you got to see what sticks against the wall. Because we had all kinds of other great technology that flames out, and it flames out really hard. Like Vine was huge for about 2 years, and
MySpace.
For about 4 years. So you don't know if you're getting into the Facebook or the MySpace until
Backpage.com.
Oh man. That's amazing. So you don't know until about 5 years, and you can look back. So that's kind of what puts me at 2017 too. Is that's about as far back as I can go and still understand like what's big and what's not, and have 99% of the amenities I would have in 2021.
We could go back to like 2017 and get in and out of Backpage really quickly, which ironically is what happened and how they failed. Oh, look at that. That was a joke I just stumbled over. But Backpage would be one, because I remember reading something back then about how it was going to be the bigger Craigslist or Craigslist. When did Craigslist come around? That was Grubhub, Uber.
Yeah, but Craigslist had to drop their Backpage section, their personals.
Not being an escort enthusiast, I was not aware of that, James.
Well, no, it was the casual encounters. It was all the people who are like, hey, look, I'm just DTF. Tonight I'm in, Garland.
What about dating apps? That's another big one. Dating apps were huge.
You still have that in 2017 if that's what gets you through. That's pretty awesome.
Anything else?
Well, for 2017, I think my real cutoff is kind of the Uber thing. What else has come out since then? If you want to do the investing angle, there's a lot, like
Bitcoin.
Tesla,
would you get in on Bitcoin in 2017?
Sure. Well, sure, you'd be doing a whole lot better. You'd be doing great if you got in like 2013 when it was $100 a coin or something like that. But It was, I don't know, like 1,000 in 2017. So you'd still be up like 50,000%.
What if you stole all the best ideas that you can remember from Shark Tank and then went on Shark Tank and like had a whole bunch of really good ideas?
Yeah, but I don't think I could pull that off. I don't think I could like manufacture and promote and deliver, like come up with the logistics for all that. The product is.
Well, no, the idea would sell itself. That's why, you would get. I see what you're saying. You don't want to do any real work. You just want to be able to put a bet down and triple your money every night.
Well, I like what the Sharks are doing. They have all this liquid capital and they're going off someone else's work and just getting a piece.
All right. Well, James, that's I like this segment. Maybe you join us again tomorrow and open up the show with another thing that you'd like to pose to us all to talk about. I thought this was a fun one. I was expecting some kind of news story, but instead you gave me a thinker, and I appreciate that.
Of course, it was good.
It was. And get your video back up so you can actually join us for real.
Yeah, I just don't have electricity yet. I'll let you know.
No, I know. Look, it's totally understandable. All right. Thank you, James. Have fun. Love to the family. Make sure that those kids don't, inhale any carbon monoxide. You're doing the smart thing. It's going to be hot, but it's better than dead.
Later.
All right. Bye. There he goes. James Parker, survivor of all the horrors that are going on down in New Orleans. That's what's going on. All right, so let's jump into this one. This is the first big story that I want to talk about. Joe Rogan, this broke. Now, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by James Parker, Joe Rogan is a very talented guy. He is an incredibly talented guy. I'm not a fan particularly of what he does with that talent, but he's, look, I drove from Chicago all the way down here to Dallas, and I listened to a number of his podcasts. Now, they were the non-polarizing ones. I don't want to listen to him talk to some QAnon guy or Alex Jones. But when he sits down and talks to someone like Dave Chappelle for 3 hours, that's fascinating. He is a tremendous interviewer, and he's just a wonderful conversationalist. He's a well-rounded guy. But I think a lot of people confuse being well-rounded with being super smart. And all that really means, like, I'm well-rounded. I'm not like super smart in any one area, but I can have, Kelly and I used to call this, my former partner, we used to call it having cocktail party knowledge of things. Like if there was a cocktail party with a whole bunch of different people standing in little groups, I feel confident that I could walk from group to group and spend about 2 minutes talking about whatever it is that they're talking about. And even if I don't know anything about it, I feel like I have enough life experience and enough bullshit that I could probably fake my way through it and then move on to the next group. That's all I got. I'm not an expert on anything, but I can probably talk a little bit about just about anything that you're going to throw at me. That's what Joe Rogan has. But sometimes, because he's such a wonderful conversationalist, I think a lot of people get duped into thinking that's a really smart guy. Well, first of all, he's prepping on the guests that he has in, and prepping isn't easy, especially with. I will also give him credit for this. He interviews people that wouldn't be interviewed anywhere else. I give him a lot of credit for everything. I give him a credit for being an innovator in the world of podcasts. I mean, he's been doing it. We probably interviewed him half a dozen times for a number of things. And every time, going back as far as like 2004, 2005, or whatever it was, he was always pushing his joerogan.net, which was a blog that then had audio files that you could download. And that became the $100 million Spotify show that he has today. I don't like a lot of his overly macho stuff that he does. I think that's a little bit tired. I mean, if there was a poster boy for the affliction shirt wearing douchebag, it would be Joe Rogan, right? I mean, he's a little bit dated in what he thinks is cool and hip. And, I guess for a guy who's 55 or something, like 54, somewhere in there, that age, I mean, he's pretty cool simply because he has this huge following of young people. But Joe Rogan is a lot like Adam Carolla, where these are guys that are just believed to be super smart when really they're just tremendous wits with a wide range of small bits of knowledge about almost any subject. So when these things come up where, Joe Rogan didn't believe doctors, and he's not a denier, and he's not a denier of COVID, and he's not necessarily a vaccine denier, but he didn't want to take it. And I just worry about those kinds of influences on young people. Now, you're just being an old man, Pugs. Okay, maybe so, but we're entering the second year of this bullshit, and we all need to get on the same team here, okay? So after years, he pushed I remember the conversation with Dave Chappelle. If you ever find that, it's on Spotify. You can find Joe Rogan with Dave Chappelle. Wonderful interview. Absolutely wonderful interview between two men who were being thoughtful with one another, who completely disagree on all of it. I mean, there were enough things that they disagree on, and you could tell that they had a friendly relationship and all that stuff. But there were absolutely two different points of view. And what I thought was so wonderful about that interview, this is the Dave Chappelle interview on the Joe Rogan podcast. What was so wonderful about it was a lesson to all of us that you do not have to disagree and scream at each other. You can have two completely different points of view and then just work around it and find common ground. There are many instances of Joe Rogan doing that. However, there are also these instances where he entertains and amplifies people like Alex Jones and, crazy Q people and all that. And maybe, years from now when he writes his book, he'll talk about how, I was just doing that, to talk so that I could have a platform to play off these people and to expose them. Maybe that's what he'll claim. I don't know. But anybody who actually likes Alex Jones is someone who suddenly is a bit sketch in my mind. And that's kind of where he has gone. And it kills me because I used to love this guy. I used to think that he was I still think he's a terrific stand-up comedian. Although I got to be honest, I haven't seen any of his recent stuff. But I mean, he's got a stand-up special, Monkeys from Outer Space, which I thought was just brilliant. And his ability as an MMA fan, as someone who's been watching MMA and UFC since the very beginning, he's the best. He's the John Madden of that sport. He is a widely talented guy, but I've also met him a number of times. And every time that I've met him, he hasn't struck me as a particularly nice guy. He hasn't struck me as a particularly friendly guy. He's always been a little bit arrogant, a little bit bigger than anybody that he was around, not bigger in size or bigger in stature, but just like a bigger, more important person. Like, why am I even wasting my time with you? I always got that kind of a vibe from him, which is odd because on his podcast, he never gives off that vibe. He gives off the vibe of a really nice guy. Now, it is possible that he didn't like me. You always got to, maybe he just walked in and he was like, yeah, I don't like that guy or something. But I wasn't confrontational with him. I mean, at the times that we've had him on, I was a fan of his. I was an MMA fan. There was one instance where he showed up and he wouldn't wait in the office, and so we had to create a special area for him upstairs in the conference room. So he was like way far away from everybody in the conference room. And this is the other thing that I hate. I always hated when guests did this. Look, if you're going to come up and you're going to do a show, you're going to be on the radio, that's fine. You bring your publicist, maybe you bring a girlfriend or you bring your wife, right? That's fine. He rolls in with just an entourage of just total douchebags, just like, the Affliction Army rolled in and they had to go up to the conference room because they needed to be away from everybody because, they're only doing this radio because the Improv is making it. It was just a really bad vibe and it was really depressing to me because, as I said, I was a fan of his. So now here we go to today. Joe Rogan, who has been a guy who refused to get the vaccine. I've heard a number of his comments on it. He doesn't trust what's going in him. They rushed this whole thing. All of the crazy Q stuff that we never seem to ask when our grandma gets cancer and they start pumping radiation into her. We never ask about that stuff. We never seem to ask when our kid is in the hospital and he's dying and they're going to use this medical procedure that's, it's our last year. We're going to try. Just do it. Do whatever it takes. But somehow, with this particular instance where the pandemic is just kicking our ass for 2 years now, suddenly we're questioning everything. And I just don't get it. I hate it. And so the big news broke today that Joe Rogan, who, well, I'm going to go do comedy. I'm going to go, that whole thing. He's been going on tour and well, this is what we got. We had this here. Let's see. We'll let Joe tell us all about what's happening here, huh? Why not? Let's see. Boy. Here he is, Joe Rogan from earlier today. Let's get this thing here.
Got tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything. Got tested, and turns out I got COVID.
That's
so we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies.
So he was concerned about the vaccine and putting that into his system, but he has no issue with the veterinary equine treatments. I mean, that's something that he's doing. And can I be honest here? He doesn't look good. He doesn't look healthy. In the longer version of this clip, he claims that I was really bad on Sunday, and then on Monday it was still pretty bad. Tuesday I was starting to feel a little better, but today I feel great. And he's making this video today, and he doesn't look great.
Got tested.
He looks sick.
And turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak.
Z-Pak. And that's just the flu stuff, right?
Prednisone, everything. Got tested.
All right. So he's taking a beating. Any of these people who are on the side of, can't hurt me, I'm indestructible. And I don't know that he was on that side, but he's got it. We wish him a quick and speedy recovery because, that sucks. I mean, it sucks, right? And it seems like healthy people are faring well. He is very healthy. He is, he's a physically fit guy. He watches what he puts in. That was his whole thing. I watch everything I put into my system. But he's putting in this horse tranquilizer. He's going to a vet and he's getting veterinary medicines and he has no problem with that. But problem with the vaccine. By the way, the latest numbers for the vaccine in this country are incredible. 73% of Americans, adult Americans, have at least one shot of the vaccine. That's the 73. It's 80, 20. That's 27% of Americans still don't have any shot. They don't have the first. They don't have the second. That is a big number. 73. This is people over 18. Yeah, it's not yet. Of people over 18, 73% have at least one shot of the vaccine. And we just have this 27% that seems to be completely dug in. But that number is really a big number. That's a huge number. Everybody's happy about it. And it's because of corporate America. And it's because it really is, credit where credit is due. Corporate America, about a month ago, they started demanding that people who work for, whatever companies need to get it, or at least need to present some form of medical confirmation that they can't get it, which I don't know what that would be. Oh my God. Why does this phone... Ed, if you're listening, at some point, I need you to show me how to make it so that my laptop doesn't go to sleep after 30 freaking seconds. God. But we digress. Okay, so Joe Rogan has the Rona. All of his comedy shows are canceled into, it looks like he said something there in the longer clip about October. We wish him a speedy recovery. We hope that he's a healthy young guy. We hope that he's through it. And God, I hope he doesn't claim that it's because the horse tranquilizer. It's just, you know what I didn't hear though? I didn't hear hydroxychloroquine or whatever it was, that other thing that those guys were all pushing back in, a year ago or something. That's good. Now we've moved on to the horse tranquilizer. Oh, and there's another doctor in the Amazon who is now claiming that some kind of poisonous snake venom is the 100% cure for it. And he says that he's got people who he treated with this poisonous snake venom, and they're fine. So be looking forward to that in the next couple of weeks. People will start injecting themselves with poisonous snake venom. All right, let's move on to another thing that I wanted to get into today. Where is it? Ooh. Are you guys NASCAR fans? Are you guys fans of the NASCAR? Did you see this? Oh my goodness. All right, Denny Hamlin. He drives the number 11. Michael Jordan is his team owner, MJ. He drives the number 11 FedEx car, and teammates with his Bubba Wallace. He's teammates with. I think that's his team. I know a little bit about NASCAR. I'll watch NASCAR. I lived in Texas long enough. I went to enough of these races. Denny Hamlin is not my guy. Kevin Harvick is my guy. Why is Kevin Harvick your guy, Pugs? Because Kevin Harvick, of all the NASCAR guys that we were forced to hang out with and all the NASCAR guys that we were forced to have come and sit in our show, Kevin Harvick is by far the nicest. What a cool guy he is. I mean, and his wife, Deanna, oh, they were so wonderful. They were just such great. I was like, most of the NASCAR guys are pretty nice, but the Harvicks are just like a whole different level. They are really wonderful, and I will root for them no matter what, whenever there's a race going on. So Kevin Harvick is my guy, not Denny Hamlin, but still, he races for Michael Jordan. So on some level, I would probably root for him, because even though Michael Jordan is kind of a dickhead, I'm still, a Chicagoan. And so for some reason, I love Michael Jordan. But Denny Hamlin, okay, let me read this to you first. Okay. So this is what happened today. There is let me see if I can find this. No. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So earlier today, excerpts from a new book from an escort was released. And I believe the escort was on Howard Stern or something. And she's got this book called something about, here, we'll get to it. Write a book about my early days as an escort to the rich and famous. Okay, that's what this girl's name is. Her name is Alexa Fox, and I think she's Chicago based, because this story concerns a trip that Denny Hamlin made to Chicago to one of the NASCAR races up there. One of them. I think we only have one, Joliet Speedway, but whatever. All right, so here is what was released earlier today. Miami, Florida. This goes back to November 16th, 2018. Denny Hamlin, driver of the FedEx number 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, and Michael Jordan, give credit where credit is due. Joe Gibbs Racing in the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series solicited me to provide him with sexual services in exchange for money while in Chicago. This for the September 2012 NASCAR Cup. The Sunday, September 16th, 22. Okay, what is this? What is it? September 2020 NASCAR Cup Series race. Okay, I got it. All right. So he went to Chicago for a race that was on September 16th. And before that, the week before, he was staying at a fancy hotel, and he called up this escort. He went to a site called, where is it? It wasn't Backpage. It was one that I hadn't heard of. Eros.com. Okay. Eros.com. If I had money, maybe I'd know more about the escort world, but I really don't. I can't waste money on that. I had child support. I got bills to pay. During the days leading up to the NASCAR Cup Series race in Chicago on Sunday, September 16th, Denny Hamlin called me off of an ad that I was featured in on an escort website named Eros.com. He said that he thought my pictures in the ad were very sexy and that he was attracted to my look. Many girls in the escort business project a particular persona in order to attract men and or women or both that are attracted to a girl with a specific look, e.g., a blonde with large breasts, a sexy secretary type, or in my case, someone that looks like a very young schoolgirl. Okay, that's troubling. That's troubling right there. That's she probably came in a little schoolgirl outfit with a backpack and pigtails. Okay. So that's what he's into. He likes her look. Her look was a very young schoolgirl. He asked me if I would come to his room at the Waldorf Astoria, located in the Gold Coast area of Chicago. Very nice hotel. I have been there. Very good hotel. And that he would pay me $800 to provide him with sexual services. Is that? No, that's exactly why I don't get escorts. That's $800. Well, I mean, he's got it. I mean, he's a NASCAR driver. Those guys are filthy rich. $800 for me to provide him with sexual services. I agreed and met him at his room at the Waldorf Astoria, as he had requested. Initially, we chit-chatted for a bit, and he told me about how successful, famous, and rich he was as a NASCAR driver. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? I mean, I guess, discretion is supposed to be the cornerstone of this industry, but still, why do you let them know that is just trouble? I mean, couldn't he have just claimed to be an out-of-town businessman, give her a fake? I mean, why on earth would he go, oh yeah, and I'm famous, so, if you ever want to make some money off this? That sounds ridiculous. That sounds like a really stupid man, a man who was playing with fire, boy. Okay, so he told me that he was a very famous race car driver, NASCAR driver. Oh my God, yes. Then, prior to our sexual activities beginning, Denny Hamlin said that he had some specific requests in regard to sexual acts that he would like me to perform for him. He said that he wanted me to give him oral sex while simultaneously penetrating his rear end with 2 fingers. I'm telling you, guys like that. I'm telling you, they do. I know, it shocked me too. That's why it's called the shocker. Ugh. There you go. He said that he had a girlfriend back home that was pregnant with his first child, and that he didn't feel that he was really cheating on her if he only had an escort provide those sexual acts. He further requested to ejaculate his semen, excuse me, but it's late night, ejaculate his semen on my breasts when he climaxed, and I agreed to let him do it. Well, she sounds like a gamer. She sounds like quite the sport. He further requested to do so. I don't want to read that again. It gives me the creeps. Upon completing the sexual request that Denny Hamlin asked me to provide, I got dressed and collected my belongings and left his room. My name is Alex Fox, and in my early years, I was an escort to the rich and famous. I've decided to write a book about my life as an escort and detail a number of the more interesting sexual encounters with the rich and famous. Men from professional sports, entertainment, politics, Wall Street, as well as those who were simply extremely wealthy. My book will be available. This book came out a while ago. This thing here, my book will be available spring of 2019. Okay, so I guess you went on Howard Stern today. In the event that there is any doubt about the validity of my story, there are numerous texts and emails that were exchanged between me and Denny Hamlin that specifically mention these acts and requests. Okay. So we have that. That's something that we know. We know that Denny Hamlin is into that stuff. So let me show you now. Hold on. I want to pull this up for y'all because I care about you. Nope, that's not it. Yep. Oh, okay. So here we go. All right. This is the one that I want to show you. So this came out today, this evening at about, 9 o'clock. And it set Twitter on fire. So this is his wife and mother of his children. Myself and our children deserve better than what you have given. I cannot believe I ever thought that someone like you could change, because you cannot. You have a long road ahead of you, and one I graciously no longer will be a part of. Have a great life, Denny Hamlin. That's his wife. That's how people are getting dumped. That's how high profile people are getting. She is mad. Now, I want to know exactly what it was that caused this thing, because obviously, as detailed in the book that I just read, he has he's got. And by the way, his Jordan Fish, Miss J Fish, is her name if you want to follow her. She is not surprisingly beautiful. she is the wife of a fancy race car driver, and man, oh man. So that's why Denny Hamlin is trending. And now, if you'll just indulge me, I would like to see what some of the latest. The boy, when this happens to somebody, when somebody famous goes through something this embarrassing, there is no funnier place on earth than on Twitter. If you can find the proper thread and the people just from all over who are commenting, let's see what some of the latest comments are here. I don't even know much about Denny Hamlin. I know that he's I know he's a name. I know that he's famous. Where is he? Where did both Denny and Hamlin at one point were trending, and now I can't find it. All right. Well, all right. We don't need to go with that. All right. Well, that's the Denny Hamlin story. That's something that made me smile before we came on. And smile. Pugs, why are you smiling that somebody's marriage is breaking up? Because I've been through two. Because I know that he'll survive it, and I know that he'll survive it better than I would, because he's a very rich man, and she's a beautiful wife. He's got beautiful kids. She's going to be taken care of. She's going to go on. She'll be dating, somebody else soon. Probably, another very wealthy pro athlete of some kind, and she won't have to put up with his stuff anymore. But yeah, so that's what's going on there. That's what's going on with Denny Hamlin. All right. Let's go check it in the chat room. Let's see what you guys are doing here. See, it's hard to transition without any kind of a break. Let's see more about the snakes. Sean says, I think there's still a cobra on the loose in Grand Prairie if anybody wants to try the venom. Yeah, all right, that's good. Let's get yourself. There's rattlesnakes around here. You'll find one. Aren't there? Isn't that one of the Texas fun facts? That there are more poisonous snakes in the state of Texas than anywhere else in the world, like including the Amazon and all that. There are just more varieties of poisonous snakes. Texas, man, don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas snakes. All right, the other thing that I wanted to go into was, I called it our endless war jokingly. There is a fight going on Twitter between Richard Marx and Chachi, and it's been going on for days. This is not something new. This is here. I'll pull this one out. I'll pull the latest one up just so we can enjoy this. Yeah, that's it. All right, you can read this too with me. So now this is political, and I don't want to get into the politics. Obviously we know Chachi's on one side, and Richard Marx is a very progressive-minded guy. But I just love it when celebrities go after each other on Twitter. And you know what? You should too, because it's fun. So let's see what the latest is. All right. So Richard Marx goes first. He says, oh God, can you guys read it? Here, I'll read it over here. It'll be bigger for me to read it. Richard Marx says to Chachi, the shit show in Afghanistan has lots of multi-administration blame to go around. I totally agree with that. When your racist draft-dodging hero was calling our own military servicemen and women losers and suckers, where the F were you, you disingenuous, rapey little twerp? Richard Marx with the big hair calling Chachi a disingenuous, rapey little twerp. And, I didn't understand that. Like, I was like, what do you mean rapey? Was Scott Baio ever accused? Yeah, he was. Scott Baio was accused of these things. Now, Scott Baio responds, rapey? in all caps, ? I've never raped or assaulted anyone. Accusations that were proven wrong are not facts. You're the barely 5'3" little man that allegedly fucked another woman while being married, shithead. Your 4-inch feathered hair didn't fool anyone, little guy. That was good too. Chachi bringing the fire. So this has been going on for like a long time, a couple of days now. I mean, at least since the end of last week. And at some point, I wonder, because don't you like to think that all celebrities know each other? Like they're going to run into each other at some point. Although I guess neither one of these guys are still really celebrities. Although they both have a lot of followers. Oh, that's a good question. I wonder who's got more followers on Twitter. Let me see. I bet you Bayo, because of the whole MAGA thing. He's pretty heavy into that. 631,000 followers for Bayo for Chachi. Oh, great! Now I just lost it. Oh boy, that's gonna happen. All right, that's okay. I can do this. You guys follow along. You'll see. Richard, not Richard Roper. All right, how many's he got? All right, 321. Chachi's doing a little bit better. Chachi's got about 120 or so more than Chachi. Oh well, all right. So these guys are fighting it out. That's pretty good. Let's see. What else do we have to be? Oh yeah. You know what we should do now? I asked this earlier. There was and by the way, this wasn't an original idea on my part. This was just something that I saw earlier today on Twitter that was going around. It went viral, and I thought, "Ooh, isn't that an interesting subject?" And the question was simple. It was, "What was the first news story that you remembered?" And I asked you guys in Facebook, and I was trying to figure out a way to maybe, how old is everybody? What am I dealing with here? And I know most of you a little bit younger. Like when I was on the radio, I remember always feeling old whenever I hung out with you guys. So here's what I asked. I asked, what was the first big news story you remembered as a kid? For me, Watergate and the end of Vietnam are things I remember being aware of, but didn't recognize as a, quote, news story. And that's true. Like I remember being aware of Watergate. I didn't really know what it was. I knew that the president was in trouble, but I honestly didn't even know what a president was. It was just somebody who was in trouble, and it was something that, like, the grown-ups were always talking about, and it just bored me. And then Vietnam, I knew about Vietnam because you'd watch that on the news while you were eating, and it was on in the background, and I knew there was a war, but I mean, I didn't really understand it. I mean, of course, I was like 3-4 years old. So those aren't real. Those are things I was first aware of. And then I think I remember, I don't know if this has been placed in my head from seeing it since then and going, oh yeah, I think I remember that as a kid. I feel like I remember seeing Nixon resign. I feel like that was something that I remember, like where he gave the speech where, he stepped down. I definitely remember this is something I definitely remember, but this isn't a news story. This is more, I mean, it was news adjacent, but I remember the Nixon David Frost interviews because I remember my mom watching it. I remember her making me watch it with her. And I remember just thinking it was so boring. But if you ever saw that movie, Frost Nixon, it's very good. It's very good. And then go back on YouTube and watch the actual interview between the two. Frost Nixon is a film that was, I don't know who was in it. It was Frank Langella, I think, played Nixon. And then Michael Sheen, I think, played David Frost. David Frost was a British comedian. He did comedy stuff. And then suddenly he reinvented himself here in America as like this straight news guy with these interviews. He was kind of Oprah before Oprah. He would do all the big interviews. But in England, he hosted a comedy show, which is very similar. The Week That Was, I think it was called. And like, it was very similar to like The Daily Show. And David Frost is the first guy to give jobs to people like John Cleese and Michael Palin and most of the people that worked on that show after he left the show, The Week That Was, and I think that's the name, something like that. But after David Frost left that show, those guys went on to form Monty Python. So David Frost sitting down with Richard Nixon to Americans probably seemed, well, that seems right. He's got a British accent and he looks good in a suit. He's obviously a serious guy. But then people in England were like, he's a comedian. That guy does like a comedy show. That guy does, silly parodies. It was a news parody show 50 years before The Daily Show. So that's where David Frost comes from. But I kind of remember that. But the first there are two, and I don't know which came first, and I probably could have looked it up. But the first thing that I remember being really freaked out by as a little kid was John Wayne Gacy. That's the news story that I remember. I vividly recall watching the Channel 7 News, ABC Eyewitness News with Fahey Flynn and Joel Daly, because that's what my family watched. Because back then, you chose one and that's all you watched. I guess it's no different now, right? You're either a Fox News family or whatever. But I remember watching that, and I remember the idea of people in the walls of this dude's crawl space, right? And it was mind-blowing because this was where I lived. This was not happening, in some country, thousands of miles away, or in some state somewhere far away. It was actually, and I remember as a kid on the playground, everything for a good 2 years was John Wayne Gacy's gonna get you. John Wayne, he was my boogeyman of my little age. We didn't have a pretend boogeyman. We had a real freaking boogeyman, and he was burying people in the walls of his house. And his house was just like a few miles north of us. And I was on the south side, and I was sort of a west suburb. But still, I had been to O'Hare Airport. His house was up in that area. And by the way, years later, when I was a teenager, we used to do this thing where, especially after we first started driving, and it was the summer, and we didn't really have a curfew, we would go on these what we called horror trips, where we would either go to like haunted woods, because there's a haunted woods by my house called Bachelor's Grove. We would go out there. We would also drive out to the prisons in Joliet, and we'd sit outside the gates and look at the wall. That was always very creepy. And what else would we do? There was another place called Monk's Castle, which, there were all these rumors about, when kids go and run up and touch the statue, they get chased by monks. And if they get caught, they get dragged in and they get turned into monks and they get castrated. I mean, it was like crazy stories that 15, 16-year-olds believed. But the Gacy house was a place we also went to. We drove up to, I don't know if it was Des Plaines or Norridge Park or something like that, whatever. They're right next to each other. But we drove up there and we found the Gacy house. And although the house was gone, it was a park. It's just a vacant lot. Although I think now they rebuilt it. I think that over the past 10 years or so, they took the abandoned lot where it was in a normal subdivision, like a normal person subdivision. And there's house, Gacy house. And then when Gacy, they found all the bodies in there, it was house, empty lot, never to be built on again. House. I mean, imagine having the house next door to the Gacy house or the Gacy lot and then trying to sell it. And I think that became a problem. So eventually they built a new house there. And how do you sell that one, right? Although I bet there are some people out there. I mean, like 99.9% of people in this world would not buy a house built on the land where Gacy put bodies in the foundation, right? No, but but there's that 1% that might pay a premium for something like that. There's like 1% weirdos. I'm sure like if the local Marilyn Manson fan might be very interested in something like that. So that was one of the things we went to. That was very traumatic for me. That was a very scary thing. And then later in my broadcast career, as a young broadcaster, I actually covered the execution of John Wayne Gacy and was out there at Stateville Penitentiary when they killed him, when they tried to kill him and failed. And then they tried again and failed again. And then the third time's the charm. It took them 3 times to kill him. They kept going, nope, not dead yet. Let's do it again. And it was lethal injection. It wasn't like they kept pulling it wasn't like one of those deals. So it was the Gacy thing for me. But then the big one that I remember, because I was driving, my grandpa was a milkman, and I used to ride on his truck with him in the summertime or wherever, whatever it was. I would just go on the route with him, and I'd ride on the milk truck, and I'd drink chocolate milk and all of that. And I remember we were way up north. He had a dairy where he was, as I remember correctly, there was like a dairy strike going on. So he couldn't use the dairy that he usually used. And for some reason he was driving like 20 miles, maybe not that far, but away from where he would usually load up. And that place was like, it wasn't in Des Plaines, but it was like you people know the Chicago area, but it was somewhere out in that area. And we were driving in the truck and we saw this massive plume of smoke, this big fire off in the distance. You know, when there's a big fire, if it's like 10 miles away, you can see it in the distance. And I saw the smoke, and I remember my grandpa saying to me, "That's out by the airport." And we were listening to WGN radio, because that's all old people listened to back then. My grandpa was old back then, although he was probably my age now that I think about it. Now, a little bit older, because he's my age when I was born. So he's probably like 10 years older than me. And then, we didn't think anything of it. Just, I'm a little kid looking at this smoke, and I'm like, wow, that's a big fire, Grandpa. Yeah, that kind of concerns me. It's a little bit over there by the airport. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then they broke in on the radio. Broke in. I don't even remember, but I over dramatize it. And they said that there had been a plane crash at O'Hare. And then it all came together. My grandpa's like, I told you, oh my God, something bad happened. And it turned out to be American Airlines Flight 191, which at the time was the biggest air disaster in American history. It was 200 people on board. The damn thing took off at O'Hare. It got about a couple 500-600 feet in the air, maybe 1,000 feet in the air. And then one of the engines fell off, and then the plane went sideways, and it just, everybody gone. I mean, what an absolutely horrible thing. And for the next week in the Chicago area, that was all there was. And that is the real first breaking news story. Gacy was the one that was most impactful because it was ongoing, and it was never like a breaking news story where all of a sudden, John Wayne Gacy's a thing. It was just sort of a slow creep. They've arrested a man in Norridge Park who's believed to be responsible. And then the next day, police have obtained warrants for the home. So that was sort of like a slow burn story. But the plane crash and seeing the smoke from it and being with my grandpa at the time, I will never forget that one. That's the one that I went, oh my God, horrified me. I don't think I had ever been on an airplane yet, but because I was probably, when did this happen? I think that happened in 1979. So I was 10 years old, 9 years old, depending on when it happened. But I asked you guys, what was your first news story? I mean, that pretty much puts me, I think that's where it all happens, right? I mean, when you're about 10 years old, that should be probably the one that you first remember. All right, hold on. I can never do this possible. All right. Cody Cox says the Challenger exploding. A lot of you said the Challenger exploding was your first big one. So that would, you know what I should have asked? I should have asked what you remember and what your age was. Yeah, but definitely the Challenger exploding has the most likes of almost any of them, unless I missed something. The Challenger exploding, I remember, that happened the same day as the Chicago Bears Super Bowl parade. The 85 Bears, and they won the Super Bowl. And it was on the very same day. And I remember our gym class, I was in gym class in high school. And I remember a bunch of my friends went down to the parade. And I couldn't go down to the parade for whatever reason. Either I wasn't going to ditch school, or I couldn't get, my mom to call in, although she probably would have for something like that. But for some reason I was there, and it was in gym class. And in gym class, we used to have this thing called square dancing. I don't even know if you guys have it, but it was a whole section of gym class where you square danced. But I was on the football team, and my coach, the football coach, was just happened to have been the gym coach. And for some reason I didn't have to square dance. So I was hanging out in the office with him, in the coach's office, in the gym locker room, and the TV was on, and we saw it happen. They were like, oh, about to send up one of these space shuttles. And I was a total space. You know what? I think that's probably it. I think I told him what a space nerd I was, and told him I was born on July 20th and all that. So I was really into it. And we sat there and we watched this thing go. It was me and a guy by the name of Coach McNeil. We sat there in the office while all the other idiots were out there in the gym square dancing, and we saw the Challenger explode. I will never forget that. I'll never forget that we didn't know what was happening, that we didn't know if that was normal. Was that something? And I remember Coach McNeil going, that doesn't look right. And I'm like, why are they showing her? Why are they showing the school teacher, Kristen McCall? Why are they showing her parents? And her parents are looking up at this plume of smoke in the sky. And then you heard the mission control guy say, what was it? Fatal error or terminal error or something. Whatever it was, it didn't sound good. So I'll never forget that one, Cody. Sarah Jean, she says she remembers the Tylenol poisonings. Oh my God, Sarah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that was huge. That wasn't my first big story, but the Tylenol, wasn't that another Chicago area thing? Didn't a bunch of I want to say that started at like a Walgreens in Chicago, and a bunch of people in Chicago died, and everybody was afraid. You kids out there, there was like, how did Tylenol as a brand ever recover from that? I mean, I didn't take Tylenol for years. I mean, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to Excedrin. Wow, that was scary. Christopher says, for me and my siblings telling me that I was born from aliens when I was 5, we lived by an Air Force base, so there were lights all the time. That's not a new story. Thank you for playing along. Mine was close to yours. When I was 4, I think my mom called me into the living room and watched the resignation speech of Nixon. At 4, I wasn't sure what was happening, but my mom told me it would be historic, and boy, was she right. Yeah, Philip, I think my mom did that for me too, and I forgot. So, but for my end, here's my contribution to my son. Because I do this all the time. Whenever there's something that I think is big happening, and my son happens to be with me, and he's not with me all the time, so it's slim pickings, if you will. But I made my son watch Dylan Cease's first professional pitching outing. So that's it. So it's like, I remember going, this is important. This kid is going to be a multi-time Cy Young winner. And he got shelled. I remember he got shelled. It wasn't a good outing, his first outing. So that was I'm trying to do the thing where if something big is happening, I want to bring the kid and make him sit down. And now he's 12. It would be easier, but okay. That's a good one, Philip. That's a good one. Cody has a good one here. Baby Jessica in the well. Do you remember that story? You guys, was that far from here? I don't know. Tell me in the chat room. That was a baby Jessica was a Texas girl, little baby. She was crawling around, probably living in some new subdivision, open well in the back, and this little kid fell down into the well. I mean, it's been parodied a million times, and at this point, it's sort of like a cultural cliche. Baby in the well. But man, and I vividly remember when they got her out. I want to say that like the news was covering it live. It wasn't back then. It wasn't like CNN or anything like that. It was like ABC News. Like, I'm watching Three's Company, and we interrupt this program to bring you this special. And then it's like they're dragging this baby out of the well. And I was a little kid, and even as not a little kid, I was probably a teenager or a young teenager back then, 12 maybe, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to check it. But man, I remember being shook by that too. And I remember them pulling that little baby out, and she looked all busted up. And oh my God, the cameras were right there and captured everything. Well, what's baby Jessica up to now? I mean, baby Jessica's a grown-ass woman. She's got to be in her 40s, right? She's got to be. She's got to be. I remember a couple of years ago when Maxim got in trouble because they put a girl on the cover and it said, Baby Jessica, all grown up. And she was a total smoke show. But it turned out not to be baby Jessica. It was all just because the real baby Jessica was like, that ain't me. Why are you selling magazines pretending that's me? But for a long time, that became an urban myth. Baby Jessica was in Maxim and she's hot. Well, I don't know if she's hot or not, but she wasn't in Maxim. Nancy says the JFK assassination. Yeah, that's a big one. That one predated me a little bit, but I've heard all the stories about being sent home from school, and my mom was sent home from school, and my grandma and grandpa have told me stories about that as a little kid growing up. Jennifer says, my father was stationed in Saigon, a civilian on base during the Vietnam War. My mother made us watch Walter Cronkite every night before dinner, and it was so upsetting seeing the nightly body count. Yeah. And then she says, I do remember the Manson murders and not fully understanding it. Kevin says, yeah, the Manson murders, that was another one that was spooky because although I wasn't conscious of, anything, maybe I wasn't even born. I'm not even sure, but it was around the time of my birth. Charles Manson was another boogeyman for me when I was little. I had an aunt who was like 6 years older. She used to scare me with stuff. And I remember her saying, Charles Manson's coming for you. I didn't know who that was. I just knew he was a scary guy. Kevin says, January 28th, 1977, Freddie Prinze killing himself. A total shocker, not only because I watched and liked Chico and the Man, but it introduced me to the tragic concept of suicide, which was never on the radar for 8-year-old me. It was especially, he goes on to say, it was especially chilling concept as he had seemingly everything going on for him. Now, I remember him dying, but I don't remember that as a specific moment. I remember, I don't even know that I was introduced to the concept of suicide. I think what I knew is that Chico was dead, and that was it. That Chico was no longer around. And I also remember, speaking of the celebrity deaths thing, I on the very same day that this occurred, I had just gotten Pac-Man for Atari, and I was sitting in front of my TV and I was playing, because you used to have to utilize the TV for playing Pac-Man. You couldn't watch regular stuff. You had to put it on the UHF channel, and then whoop 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 whoop. And I remember playing Pac-Man, and my mom coming in and telling me uh, that she wanted to put on the news because something had happened to John Belushi. And that, for me, that was the only thing that could have probably gotten me to turn off the Pac-Man, because I was such a big Belushi fan. And that was pretty big. That was the first celebrity. I think we'll get to my first celebrity death later, because I think somebody else had mentioned it. Denise says that hers was also Flight 91 at O'Hare. Yeah, that was a big one, man, especially for those of us in the Chicago area. That was scary, because it was. Barry Smith, the Apollo 1 fire that took the lives of Grissom, White, and Chaffee in January of 67. Wow. Yeah. That's a big one too. That predated me. James says Helter Skelter, the Charles Manson stuff. But was that a breaking news story, or again, was that like sort of a slow unveiling over the course of days? I'm talking about just big off events, but still, that's a good one. That's a real good one. April says, now April's a little bit younger than me, but one that I also remember quite vividly. She says the fall of the Berlin Wall, and when MTV News did coverage on the Persian Gulf War. I remember the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was huge. That was something that I was, when the Berlin Wall came down, I was a young adult, I guess. I was probably either a senior in high school or maybe a freshman in college, and I fancied myself a person who was up on current events. And I remember being glued to the TV watching that. And I remember thinking, wow, the world is different now. I think I also told you about watching the fall of the Soviet Union when they overtook the Kremlin, the crowds and the government buildings there, and they elevated Yeltsin. And then Gorbachev had to run off and go into hiding. That was a big one too for me. Nicole also says Baby Jessica. Clayton says, honestly, I think it was Desert Storm. Now, Desert Storm was the first one. Yeah, Desert Storm was early 90s. That was the first time we went up against Saddam in defense of Kuwait, if I remember correctly. John says definitely Flight 191. Another person who, Flight 191, the O'Hare plane crash. I remember coming out of my school and seeing the smoke in the sky off to the north. My sister and myself got home, and my mother told us what happened. Yeah, the smoke was big. I mean, it was a big fire. You could see it for miles and miles around. Robert Davis says the September 11th attacks. Wow, you baby. You're just a little one, Robert. I was a grown ass man. Kelly and I had done a show the previous night. I was there as it was happening. I know everybody, normal people wake up at like 8 a.m, Pugs. Okay, but I was doing overnight radio with my partner at that point. And we get off the air at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I drove home and I didn't go right to sleep. And I'll never forget this. I was working on my computer. My back was to the TV, but there was a mirror in front of me. And I could glance up and I could see what was on the TV. And I just happened to have the Today Show on, because back then that's what everybody watched. It was the Today Show. Maybe a couple years earlier, it was Good Morning America. But for me, it was the Today Show. And the Today Show was on, and I would glance up and all of that. And it was in the days of AOL Instant Messenger. I don't know if you remember that. But a friend of mine contacted me on AOL Instant Messenger, and he worked in the Sears Tower, and he just sent me, well, looks like I have the day off. And I looked at it, and I'm like, what's that about? He's like, they're clearing everybody out of the building. And I remember thinking, what's going on with the Sears Tower? And I look up, and I see in the TV that there's something going on, on the Today Show. And then I think it was Tom Frankowitz, who you may see in the chat room from time to time. He was in a previous incarnation of the Pugs and Kelly show when we were on in Chicago. But September 11th, we were on the air in Dallas, but we were doing the show from Chicago. But before that, we had a show that was on in Chicago, and Tom was our producer. And I remember Tom hitting me up on AOL Instant Messenger and just saying, "Are you watching this?" And I wasn't. I was just occasionally glancing up, at the mirror and seeing something going on the TV, but didn't seem that important. My friend was saying that he was leaving, and then I start putting something together. Oh my God, something is happening here. So I turned around and I grabbed the remote control and I turned and I saw the smoke coming out of the top. I mean, I watched that whole thing. Kelly and I were on the phone that whole day. It was like, oh my God, the building came down. Did you see that? I mean, what a day. That is probably the most monumentous day of my life. I mean, I will remember everything about that day until today. The way that people of a different generation say that maybe they remember Pearl Harbor, or our parents might say they remember something like the Kennedy assassination. September 11th, and I being fair to all other generations, I think that was bigger. I think that September 11th just changed the entire world. And I remember I stayed up all day, all night, because that was boy, oh boy, was that a long day. And then I had to get in my car and drive and do another show that night with Kelly. And I had been up for like 24 hours. Oh my God, that was bleary-eyed. That was a rough one. September 11th. Okay, what else do we got? So Robert, September 11th was the first big news story that he remembers. Kimberly says the gas shortages in the 70s. Now, I remember the gas shortages being a thing, but I don't remember being impacted by them. Like, I don't remember gas lines. I see the pictures, when you see documentaries, this is the 1970s, and they show gas lines. I don't particularly remember gas lines, but I'm sure they existed because there's videotape. Linda says the killing of our president, JFK. Yeah, that's a big one. That was a real big one, too. Michael says Vietnam on the nightly news. And one event that I'll remember was the RFK assassination. The first time I remember ever seeing my mother cry. It was heavy shit. Yeah, I bet it was. Another person saying Desert Storm. James, in particular, the night vision shot with tracers flying. Yeah, that was some cool stuff, man. The CNN guys were stuck in Baghdad when the bombs were falling, and they were reporting live as the bombs were all around them. Bernard King? No. No. Bernard King played for the Washington Bullets. Bernard Shaw and Friends. Bernard Shaw and Friends. Let's go with that. Although, one of the interesting things about that, if you watch CNN now, CNN's like top international correspondent is a guy, is it Nick Robinson, I believe it was, or Nick, I think it's Nick Robinson, I want to say. Nick Robinson was like the producer of all of that. He was there in the hotel room. He was stringing the cables. And if you remember, if you ever watch it, they keep talking about Nick. Nick, are you okay? Get under here, Nick. And that's now Nick Robertson, who's like, CNN's chief correspondent. Talk about trial by fire. That was his introduction. Doug says, 5th grade when Kennedy got shot. Yeah, it's going to be a big one. In my kindergarten class, says Kevin, in my kindergarten class, we watched John Glenn in space on black and white TV on a stand. I don't think we really understood what we were watching. Kindergarten, no, but that was probably cool. And that's a good memory to have. As a space nerd, that's a badass first story to have. First news story. Taurus King, Reagan getting shot. I was in 6th grade. And often when I tell the story about the day Reagan got shot, I say that we got sent home early from school. But the more I think about it, I think maybe it was a half day. I think maybe it was a pre-planned half day, because I remember at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever, being at home. My mom was working a weird shift, and she was sleeping in her bedroom. And for some reason, I remember watching this on the TV in her bedroom while she slept. Or maybe it was I don't know. Our minds are funny. They play weird memories. But I remember watching hours and hours of the continuing coverage of the Reagan assassination Reagan assassination attempt. And horrid fun fact, Tim McCarthy, the Secret Service agent who took a bullet. It was James Brady, God rest his soul. He died a few years back. He lived for years with the brain trauma that he sustained in that assassination attempt. And the Secret Service agent who got shot, Tim McCarthy, was a hometown guy. He was from, I lived in Orland Park. I went to school in Orland Park. He was born and raised in Orland Park. And after he was assassinated or after he took a bullet for Reagan, he went on to be the chief of police of my hometown for like 30 years, having just retired. He's like a huge god in my hometown. He was, I mean, and not just for the Reagan thing, that's a big deal, but powerful because he ran the police department and he was probably one of the most powerful guys around. Let's see here. Who else do we have? The moon landing. Bill says the moon landing. I was surprised that no one had said that. That's probably the one that rivals September 11th for the biggest news event of the past 150 years. The moon landing is certainly up there. The day I was born, my mom blames me. She's the only person on the planet, she says, who didn't get to watch that because I decided to show up a little bit early. nobody was expecting me to come. And also apparently my father and grandfather were very difficult to find because everybody was around a TV in the waiting room watching the moon landing, watching this happen. So my mom is alone in the birthing room and there's no doctors, there's no nurse because everybody was watching the damn moon landing. I don't know I guess they didn't have TVs in all the rooms back then, but yeah, she missed it because of me. What else do we have here? Shelley says Nixon's resignation. The news breaks during Saturday morning cartoons. And I remember watching him leave on Air Force One and thinking, can we please get back to Josie and the Pussycats? Yes, it's part of the thing about being a little kid. Charlie says the first one I really remember that I paid attention to was the bombing of the Marine barracks in Beirut. Yeah, I remember that. That was probably like, 83, 82? Yeah, I remember how pissed Reagan was. That was that was a bad one. That was a sad one. A lot of lost military there. A lot of people just in dead sleep, never woke up. Desert Storm says, Eric, Dr. Schwartz is in there making funnies. The first one he remembers is third grade, Kurt Cobain allegedly dead. Yes, because of course, Dr. Robert Schwartz is he's 28 years old now. And that's OJ, youngster. Welcome, youngster. It's my boy Jake says the OJ Simpson stuff. Stan says the LA riots. Now we're getting some younger people. Bobby Kennedy being shot. There's another older one. Sherry says, I think for my kids, 34 and 30, it would probably be the Columbine shooting. Ooh, that was a big one. That was a scary one. I mean, we had crazy people shooting stuff up before, but never kids just deciding to wipe out their graduating class. That was ugly. And that played out live on TV. I mean, that's all of these stories, at least the ones that are being mentioned of the past 30 years. These are all reasons why I'm such a news junkie. I don't want to say that look, it would be callous of me to say that when these things happen, I get a thrill from it. And if it is a thrill, it's certainly a perverse thrill, but it gets me going. I become fascinated by the unfolding detail. I'm a news junkie and I don't know what it was. And maybe it was some combination of all of these things over the course of my life, but certainly the Columbine shooting was one that I was glued to the TV the entire time it was playing out. I remember the teacher, I think it was, smashing a window on live TV and climbing out and then running across a field into the arms of police. And oh my God. What else do we have here? More Challenger explosions. That's the big one. Challenger explosion. I was 5. All memories I have were from my parents. Billy says the evacuation of Saigon. He also says he remembers the Patty Hearst saga. Yeah, I do. I remember the Patty Hearst story. I remember that whole thing. Didn't understand it, but I knew that there was something weird going on with some girl that everybody was talking about and that she was kidnapped. Iran-Contra for Adam. Lacey says the OJ trial. Marie says the blizzard of 78. My only recollection is being in my grandparents' house and they had this big glass front door that looked outside. The snow piles were massive and despite it being nighttime, it looked so bright from the light bouncing off the snow. Yeah, the blizzard of 78 was a big one for me too. I remember we lived on the second floor. We had a balcony and the snow drifts went all the way up over the balcony and into the roof. And I remember that you could stand on the balcony and you could tunnel, and we made we tunneled a hole. We're standing up on the second floor balcony, and we started digging a hole in the snowdrift, and we made a little slide and chute that went all the way down. Because that was crazy. That was a bad blizzard, boy. I don't think I remember a blizzard worse than 78. Oh, Jennifer says, thank you for bringing up how old I am compared to most of the listeners. No, Jennifer, you're not old. You're experienced. You got to look at it that way. More of the end of the Vietnam War, the Challenger explosion, baby Jessica, Ross's Who Shot JR, more Reagan. Oh, here's another big one. Cody Dangalang, former producer of the Pugs and Kelly show, Waco. They turned on that in elementary school to show it. Yeah, I remember watching. I was delivering pizzas. I was in college at the time, and it was a slow day. And it was the same setting as my story about when the Soviet Union fell, when they stormed the Kremlin and the government buildings, somewhere around the same time when Waco happened. And I remember sitting there when the fire started, and I remember watching the smoke and thinking, okay, that's different. What is that? Is that well, what's going on there? And then within like 5 minutes, the entire compound was in flames. And I'm sitting there going, wait, aren't there people in there? But they're showing this on TV. There were people in there. And it was just like, yeah, here's a farmhouse burning down filled with people. And I think everybody was just so shocked by what was unfolding on live TV. Kenny says, many things I saw on television as a youth during the Vietnam War, born in 62. Probably one that really opened my eyes was when Democratic presidential candidate George Wallace was shot in the parking lot of some shopping center. Okay, that was a big one. The Night Stalker and Hands Across America. There's a fun one. All right. We're kind of getting away from, yeah. Wow. Okay. Oh, look at this. I never changed the caption. Oh my goodness. See, because I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, there you go. Bam, bam. There you go. All right. And now moving on. I just needed to put that up so I don't feel like I completely wasted it. Let's see. What else do we want to do? What is the last thing? Oh, yes. All right. It is that time, folks. We're going to run out of here. I'm going to tell you about what we have to look forward to tomorrow. What happened? Why tomorrow doesn't stink. Absolutely not ripping off Bob Sturm of the ticket. Let's talk about what's happening tomorrow and what we need to be. In 44 BC, Pharaoh Cleopatra of Egypt declares her son co-ruler, Ptolemy the 15th, Caesarion. Oh, I get it. Oh, that's where the term Caesarian section comes from. Cleopatra's son, Caesarion. In 44 BC, also, same time, just, taking away some of the spotlight from Cleopatra, Cicero launches the first of his Philippica oratory attacks on Mark Antony. He will make 14 of them over the following months. That sounds like a little bit of... All right, let's move a little bit faster. What else do we have happening here? In the American Civil War in 1862, the United States President Abraham Lincoln reluctantly restores Union General George B. McClellan to full command. After General John Pope's disastrous defeat at the Second Battle of Bull Run. In 1864, also in the American Civil War, Union forces enter Atlanta. Yeah, because remember, yesterday was the day that they abandoned Atlanta. So I guess it was one day later today when the Union forces entered Atlanta. All right, very good. 1885, Rock Springs Massacre in Rock Springs, Wyoming. 150 white miners who are struggling to unionize so they could strike for better wages and work conditions attacked their Chinese fellow workers, killing 28, wounding 15, and forcing several hundred more out of town. Ugly. We don't have the market cornered on ugliness. It was always happening. 1939, World War II, following the start of the invasion of Poland the previous day, the free city of Danzig, now Gdansk, which is one of the funnest cities in the world to say, Gdansk, 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 is annexed by Nazi Germany. Also, communist leader in 1945, Ho Chi Minh proclaimed the Democratic Republic of Vietnam after the end of the Nguyen dynasty. Don't know what that's about. 1970, NASA announces the cancellation of 2 Apollo missions to the moon. Apollo 15, the designation is reused by a later mission, and Apollo 19. 1984, 7 people are shot and killed and 12 wounded in the Milpera massacre, a shootout between the rival motorcycle gangs Bandidos and Comancheros in Sydney, Australia. Don't remember hearing about that, but I'd like to see the movie. In 1998 on this day, Swiss Air Flight 111 crashed near Peggy's Cove, Nova Scotia, killing all 229 souls on board. 1998 on this day, the UN's International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda finds Jean-Paul Akayesu, former mayor of the small town of Rwanda, guilty on 9 counts of genocide. You ever seen that Hotel Rwanda? This dude got what he deserved. I am telling you. People who were born on this day, nobody in the 1600s. Nobody 1600s night. Do we care about this? Anybody really famous? Nope, 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 nope. Nope. Nobody of any interest or any note was born on this day until the 1901 when Adolph Rupp. Rupp Center, one of the big coach at Kentucky or something, one of the biggest basketball coaches of all time, born on this day in 1901. Who else do we have? Nobody. I don't know who any of these people are. This is not a good day for celebrities to be born. Hal Ashby, American actor, legendary director, was born on this day. I make these noises, people, because I have a fear of silence when broadcasting. On this day in 1946, happy birthday to the late, great Billy Preston. Many call him the fifth Beatle. He was the black guy that played keyboards. If you've ever seen their final performance on the rooftop, that's Billy Preston's playing with him on that. But he also played keyboards on most of their stuff. On this day in 1948, also born Terry Bradshaw. Who doesn't love Terry Bradshaw? I don't know anything about Terry Bradshaw. He seems kind of fun. Seems like Mark Harmon was also born on this day. Look, there are a lot of people recently in the last few years who have played Ted Bundy, but for my money, Mark Harmon was the best Ted Bundy of them all. Born on this day in 1951. Jimmy Connors born on this day in 1952. Tennis player. We all know him. Who else is having a birthday? God, they just give you everybody. 1960, Pony Express. Let's hear it for SMU's own Eric Dickerson, born on this day. Football Hall of Famer, one of the great running backs of all time. Lennox Lewis, born on this day in 1965. Salma Hayek, born on this day in 1966. Man, she still looks good, too. That is a beautiful, beautiful woman. Who else? Cat Williams. Happy birthday, Cat Williams, born on this day in 1971. I don't know anything about that guy. I know that there was a young person who I used to spend some time around through work who loved Cat Williams, but he was kind of an idiot, so I never really looked any further. Who else is born on this day? That's going to be it. You know what? Really, we're already into the 80s, so don't know any of these people. We're already into the 90s. Who's going to be famous? Yeah, nobody. Yep. Okay, there we go. Anybody important die on this day? Nah. Yeah. That's going to be it. All right. And that's why tomorrow doesn't stink. Hey, don't forget you can join me for lunch tomorrow. Every day we do this again. It's more of a topic-driven show where we're going to just rip and read all the stuff that's going around on the trend sites, whether it's Twitter or Google or any kind of combination of two. I also have this website that I use that has all of these different ones from different sketchy sites. And, today was a good one, though. There were a lot of stories today, even though all the truly great ones like Denny Hamlin liking things in his butt and Joe Rogan, ingesting horse dewormer, all of those things happened after the show. So let's keep a good thought for tomorrow and hope that some of the more interesting stories occur before 12 o'clock. And if they do, you'll catch them right here with me. That's the High Noon Show with me, Pugs Moran, and that's tomorrow at noon. As for this has been a production of Radio Misfits, and I bid you an adieu. Thank you, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.